Frostpunk 2 is finally out. I've recommended the first one already on my channel, and this one is pretty good. The setting takes place 30 years after the captain from the first Frostpunk successfully leads the construction of the circular coal-run city and manages to survive the seemingly impossible conditions of the frozen end of the world. And now he's dead. And you, the steward, must now adapt to the next impossible hazard looking to destroy the city that has been standing for so long. People. Based on your handling of the coal crisis, the first decision is whether you should maintain your role as steward. Dude, I just started! I just fucking started, assholes. Was it a mistake to let you guys do this? In story mode, there are 4 factions. The people who wish to adapt to the cold, those who want to conquer it, and 2 factions of assholes. During the prologue, you're asked what direction was chosen in the first game, religion or order. Based on that choice, you're given the first faction of radicals, and shortly after that, the second faction shows up to counter the first. There's also a third option that will pick one at random for you. Uh-oh.
The Pilgrims are now officially recognized by the city.
I don't like these guys. They can suck my dick. Frostpunk 2 has a Zeitgeist mechanic where you must decide which direction the city will go in. There are 3 sections: technology, economy, and society. Each section has one of 2 ways you can go. Technology has adaptation and progress, economy has merit and equality, and society has tradition and reason. The 2 radical factions each prefer one way over the other. If your city moves too far in one direction, one of them will start to cry and start protesting in districts while the other sings your praises and holds rallies. I avoided both and went right down the middle. I wanted to go for progress, but their buildings kind of suck compared to adaptation. But later in the game, I did end up having both of them pretty even, but it didn't matter. Eventually, when one bar is too high, that radical faction will make an insane demand saying all opposing buildings and laws will now cause tension. I was actually pissed when this happened, but luckily there is a way to get around it. We'll get to that in a moment. With the old captain dead, you now have a council that votes on laws. Obviously, the different factions won't agree when it's time to vote, but you're able to negotiate and lean the vote either for or against the proposed law. The easiest way I found to negotiate is to promise to research a building. Normally it costs around 50 to 100 heat stamps, which is their currency, and you don't have to build the actual building. So it's like promising to read a blueprint only to throw it in the trash afterwards. And everyone's happy. For the most part. I do think it's cool when you combine certain laws that work for or against each other, like having the food foraging law and building a bio hothouse increases food production, or having ceremonial funerals and a teaching hospital will encourage grave robbers to sell corpses to the teaching hospitals. A little fucked up. Story mode has 6 chapters, including the prologue, which advance when you reach certain milestones like getting oil to your city for the first time. Sometimes I find it's best to wait on getting to the next chapter until you have a reasonable amount of resources and the factions don't hate you too much. Venturing out into the Frostlands is a little more complicated than the first game, and a lot bigger. You're now able to connect pathways from resource locations to the city, and they will continuously bring in resources until it's depleted. There's also spots that can give you special perks, like increased population, larger stockpiles, decreased exploration cost, things like that. Another big difference is having multiple cities to manage. I went the progress route, so I only had 2 locations to manage, but in Utopia, I was able to have 4. At first, it does feel a little overwhelming, but if you take your time with each one and manage your resources carefully, it's pretty simple. The hardest part of the game by far is the beginning. So we're in big trouble here. Don't have enough coal. The temperature's gonna get even colder. Or don't have any money really. Don't have food. You have to make all the right choices before the first whiteout, and if you manage to make it through, the rest of the game isn't actually that bad. One small thing I thought was cool is how you're able to zoom into major buildings and fly the camera around in the voting room. Whee! That's fun. You can see the different factions dressed in their specific outfits and click on them for more information, which I thought was a nice touch. How's a stew going? What? Intimidated by spices? It seems a lot of people are disappointed in just how different this game is from the first. You don't feel as close to your people as you did in the first. Feral children? Oh my god, look at this guy. Look at that shit-eating smile. Are dead. Survival doesn't quite feel as dire as it used to, and the story in the first Frostpunk is a lot more impactful and sticks with you well after its completion, but I don't think it deserves the amount of negative reviews it's getting. Is it as good as the first? Not really, but that doesn't mean it's a bad game. Thing is, I'm already a fan of Civ 6, Tropico, City Skylines, and Frostpunk, obviously, and this game feels like a mash of those, and I really did enjoy my time playing. But there are a few places I think the game fell short. For some reason, if you expand an industrial district that specializes in making goods, it reverts back to specializing in prefabs. Not a big deal, but can be very confusing when you don't know it does that. I found it difficult to prepare for whiteouts because it's hard to tell how large your stockpiles need to be to get through it. I would think I had plenty before the storm hits, only to find my city will only last around 10 weeks when I need it to last around 50. If you choose the progress route in Chapter 2, you get a special building called Deep Melting Drills, so you can continue to collect resources even after they're depleted from certain nodes. The thing is, you can only put one down even if you have 2 empty slots, and regular buildings don't work with them, unless it's food, or coal for some reason, but nothing else. It's very confusing. Wait, you're still working? What? What? I was really enjoying Utopia, which is their endless mode. Having a variety of factions rise to power when you make certain decisions I thought was really interesting. Being able to upgrade your furnace and have multiple settlements, something the story mode doesn't let you do, I thought was awesome. But I was very disappointed when after I expanded my city, built 4 more, explored the entire Frostlands, only to realize I would never have enough steam cores to both have multiple settlements and have the final upgrade for my furnace. It was at that point where I thought, I guess that's it then, and started writing this review. Ugh, fuck. I don't think I'm ever gonna get it. That sucks. There were other complaints I had, like performance issues and glitches, but most of them have already been fixed with the multiple patches they've been releasing, which I greatly appreciate. Let's see if this works. Oh, it works! This would crash my game before. Look at that sexy generator. There was a very small issue I had with the building overlay, but in a recent patch they scrapped it and threw in a new overlay when you hold down the 9 button. So good. Performance optimization could still use some work though. My computer turns into a heater when I play this game. One nice thing about this game is that there are multiple ways to play and different strategies to try. For this reason, I don't really have any tips and tricks to share because there's probably much better ways to play than the way I did, but there is one tip I would highly recommend. If you build patrol watchtowers, at a certain point you will be asked if your patrols should go out of their way to help citizens other than just stopping crime. Let them help people. Having an easy way to reduce tension is huge in the late game. When one of the radical groups inevitably goes insane and demands all of your buildings and laws must reflect their ideology, tensions will skyrocket, especially if you went with a middle-of-the-road approach like I did. Like I said, this really pissed me off at first and I had no idea what to do until I remembered about my patrol perk. So I just built a fuckload of those and gave a giant middle finger to those radical dickheads. Yeah, let's see you guys start shit now. Fucking dicks. I really enjoyed my experience with Frostpunk 2. Yes, it's a lot different than the first. There are small things I would change. It's still got some kinks to work out. Oh, I broke it. Oh, I broke it. Oh, I broke it. Oh, I broke it. Shit! But I do think it's a solid game on its own. And if you enjoy games like Civ 6 and City Skylines, I do think you'll enjoy this one, especially when it goes on sale. Thanks for watching.